Hello and welcome back to the Beatdown Bandits podcast. I am Colin and this is season 3, episode 15 of the podcast. I am somehow miraculously pulling this off for this podcast today. I was not planning on getting one done because I've been traveling this week and just got back. And I had some time, and you know what? I'm like, we're just gonna do it. I am committed to it, and we're just gonna get it done, right? Definitely did not want to skip 2 weeks of it, so here we are. We're back at it. I did miss a pretty decent amount of videos this week on my YouTube channel, which is unfortunate, but it was only a couple days, and obviously I don't have like a giant following where people are going to be offended if I miss a day here or there. So all is good as far as that goes. But today we're discussing soundtracks, and this was an idea that I had probably, I don't know, 6 or 7 weeks ago at this point. And I started jotting down like memorable soundtracks in video games and movies that were like important to me for whatever reason. And so I jotted those down, and I don't really have like great descriptors written for them. I more or less just have the name of the video game and the name of the movie. And so I want to, a lot of this is probably just going to be a little ad-libbed and a little off the cuff. But I know what I do want to say with them more or less. So it shouldn't be too bad, I hope. So right now I'm kind of internally debating about if I want to start with video games or movies. And I think I want to start with maybe video games. So there's like a theme I noticed in the video games, and honestly, like I kind of struggled a little bit more with this than I thought I was going to. And I was trying to also just limit myself to like 5, 6, 7 things. And just like ones that like immediately kind of came to my mind. And the theme was kind of like open world orchestra. Ones like I guess like games that were memorable to me with the soundtrack. I know that kind of sounds weird, but there are plenty of open world games where the soundtrack maybe doesn't matter or is not really in play. When you think of like Halo, which is on my list, it's a big, massive game over whatever it's been now, like 15 years or so of Halo, something like that. It's just a kind of a guess, but something like 15 years of Halo. The music is so vital and very memorable. I think like I've seen 100 reenactments of like guys like singing the theme song. They're like going into a bathroom with that echo and and singing the. I'll spare you and not sing it myself, but they do the orchestra thing, right, and the choir, and those things are very recognizable. And so Halo was definitely one that's on my list. Similar to that, while it's a game that I don't really enjoy, but the music caught me real quick, was Skyrim, which is similar, where it's I would call it an open world orchestra. I am guessing that is not like a genre of music, but it fits. I think everybody knows what I'm talking about when I say open world orchestra. But Skyrim is very much that way and very memorable. I know it's like one of the most popular games of all time. It just wasn't one of my bags, but so we can go off track a little bit here and hit Cuphead. I think most people can remember the music of Cuphead. Now, Cuphead was one of those games where like you want to like murder somebody because of the game itself, but it's one of those the soundtrack is so perfectly fit to like a 30s style cartoon. And so when you think of like the original cartoons and the music to that, it fits that so well. So shout out to whatever company made Cuphead and did the original soundtrack for that. It's awesome. And then also off track is Doom, which ironically, like I was just talking about, like I think I had wrote Doom down, and I did make a note on this that of just heavy metal, and it feels like I'm listening to Slayer the whole time, which is super fun, super cool, and it fits with the game. Uh, to me, like that really hits with the soundtrack when it really fits the game and with like what you're doing. And Slayer is perfect for that, right? So it feels like I'm at a Slayer concert. And fairly recently, I was just talking with somebody about Doom, and this kind of came up, and I'm like, yeah, I just made note of this. Now granted, my notes here of this podcast are like a month and a half, 2 months old or something like that at this point, but it was just funny. I was like, yeah, I was thinking about a podcast talking about soundtracks, and Doom was already on my list. So next up was Assassin's Creed, and specifically I put 2 in Brotherhood, which are probably my 2 favorite of them, with the most memorable soundtracks in the series. Jesper Kidd, who is the composer who did the original score for, I don't know how many games he did, but he at least did 2 in Brotherhood. He probably did Revelations as well, so maybe like the whole Ezio storyline. But that music is so freaking good. And I know when I first played Assassin's Creed 2 in Brotherhood, I was, at the time, like iPods were really popular, right? So I had downloaded all the music and had it on an iPod, and I was listening to it constantly. Like it was just so amazing. And that fits into that open world orchestra again. And that music to me is just so freaking good. So yeah, the open world orchestra stuff just hits me. And then last but not least, again, it's very piano and orchestra and choir, and definitely like wind music, flutes and stuff. Is Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. Like if you just listen to soundtracks, like I listen to a lot of soundtracks, and I don't know. Speaking of which, like if you haven't seen this guy on YouTube, his name is Smooth McGroove. I'm not being paid by Smooth McGroove, but if you love video game music, you need to check him out on YouTube. Um, you know what? Why not? I will put a link to Smooth McGroove's channel below. After you listen to this podcast, go check out Smooth and listen to his stuff. Like it's so good. He does his own compositions of video game music, and he sings all the parts and the instruments and everything like that. He does it all in a really cool a cappella layout. And plus he has his cats are special guests, which are always super funny to see. So but Smooth McGroove is so fun to listen to. I know he has like a lot of projects that he works on, so sometimes his upload schedules, like he'll upload quite a few and then disappear for like a year and then come back with some more and then disappear for 6 months. So he's not quite as popular and as big as what he used to be several years back, but he's still so fun to listen to. Like go back and listen to old school like F-Zero and Mario and things like that. Just listening to those, and Zelda, just listening to all those soundtracks from him are something special. I also mentioned some movies, so that was all I like. That just came kind of like the top of my head for video games. If there's others, feel free to comment below of like things that you thought of or whatever. There were some others that very easily could have made this list, but I was trying to limit myself to some that were like the most memorable to me. So what are some of the ones that are most memorable to you? Comment that, please. So for movies, same thing. If I leave your favorite movie off of this list, or like why the heck did I put this movie on my list, feel free to comment that below. I will respond to you. I'm gonna maybe do this in like a reverse order, I think. These are not in order, but like the first couple on my list were like the first ones are like, oh my god, these are the ones that I have to have. So my honorable mention, which fit with my last one that I thought of, which was Goodfellas, with an honorable mention of The Departed. where it's very like 60s rock. Well, more Goodfellas was like a lot of 60s rock, but The Departed had some of that as well with like the Rolling Stones, but it was music that like really fit with Boston and everything. And so it was just really good and very memorable to me. Plus, The Departed is one of my favorite movies. But Goodfellas is just it's just filled with 60s rock, which is stuff I grew up listening to a lot as a kid with my dad playing like vinyls and stuff. So that was very good. Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Some like the original music in there was super fun, and obviously they did it in a very fun way. And so nothing really else to say about that one, but it was fun. Guardians of the Galaxy, 1 and 2. Obviously those are like very hand-picked songs, not an original score. There is like original score music in Guardians of the Galaxy, but talking more or less like the songs that Peter likes, right? And so those were obviously hand-picked, to be like a memorable thing from his mom or whatever. So hand-picked by producers and directors or whatever. So I get that they're going to be like really good songs, but it hits so well with like the theme of Guardians of the Galaxy, where Peter is kind of stuck in in like that 70s 80s world or whatever. And so it just felt really cool. Lost in Translation, no original music to this, but the thing that I like about Lost in Translation is that they focus on the music a lot in that, where there's a lot of like quiet parts in Lost in Translation where there's just no dialogue for sometimes extended periods of time, but you don't really notice because of the music. It's very like there's like a lot of like French pop. And then there's like Peaches, which is like out of the blue, F the pain away, right? So like that was that was kind of unique. um uh is Slow Like Honey, Jesus and Mary Chain or whatever. I think it's, yeah, Slow Like Honey, I think is the name of the song, which is a really freaking good song from me growing up. Like that was a big song for me. But yeah, there's a lot of French pop and just like the ambient like electronic music or whatever. um Fit really well with it, and especially like I said, like in like those silent moments of the movie, with that music like in the background, like it was really really unique. So whoever was responsible for like the sound and everything and those type of moments, sometimes like that's with like the writers and the directors all combined. That was done really well. Pulp Fiction, I mean, Quentin Tarantino movies are so good regardless, but then like the music, I am 90% sure he probably handpicks the music himself for his movies. But Pulp Fiction was one, from like me being, I was like 12. Would that come out in like 94-ish? Either way, like I was like an impressionable, young teenager, 12, 13, 14, in that range, when I was like really listening to that soundtrack. And the music in it is really badass. Like the rock and the soul and the like, probably like surf rock, I guess is probably what it's called. But everything was, I was not really exposed to Quentin Tarantino until that, really. And then sorry, didn't mean to bump my microphone. But then you get into like the Kill Bills and stuff, where you can tell like the music, was very important to Quentin Tarantino. And so much respect to him for all of his movies. But yeah, Pulp Fiction was one of those, probably like one of the first like soundtrack like CDs that I bought as a kid, because it was so good. And then next up is Elizabethtown, which is not a great movie, but it's probably like a guilty pleasure for me. Like I enjoy it, because it's like sometimes like I like the fish out of water type of movies, where somebody is just almost like trying to fit in, or is he the weird one where everybody else is normal? And so those are the things that you're trying to like figure out. So like the fish in water or fish out of water type movies um are very good to me. We all kind of feel like that sometimes, right? Like where you sometimes feel like you struggle to fit in, or you don't know what to do or say or whatever, and that's just kind of one of those movies. I also got a chance a few years ago. I actually drove through Elizabethtown, and while I was like driving through Kentucky or whatever, this was maybe like 5 years back, and was going to Mammoth Caves and like listening to the soundtrack or whatever, and ended up stopping and eating lunch in Elizabethtown and stuff. So it was pretty cool. Again, like the movie itself is not great, but the music is amazing, just Southern rock. And Tom Petty, well, I can't listen to Tom Petty every day. Tom Petty is kind of one of those bands that or artists that is makes to me like a lot of like sentimental, like unique rock, and stuff that isn't meaningless, and so that's kind of important to me. So yeah, and like the southern rock stuff. While I do not like enjoy country music, but I enjoy like the southern rock stuff. And so Tom Petty is good. There's also like a newer band like Mumford and Sons, which is kind of, in my opinion, kind of a little bit similar, where it is that southern rock stuff. So yeah, I like that. That's that to me is probably one of the best soundtracks of all time, in my opinion. And then finally, the one that I jotted down first is a newer movie. Again, like there's a big music focus on this, but something that's so unique about this that you don't see every day in movies. But the movie is Baby Driver. If you haven't seen it, it's actually a pretty decent movie. It's kind of kind of an action drama type movie, but it is very good. Well, it's good. So I could see, a lot of people saying, yeah, it was kind of stupid. But it's a good movie. It's worth watching, but the music in it is amazing. But something that you don't catch always, like on that first watch, like you almost have to watch it 2, 3, 4 times to see that everything that happens in the movie is on beat with the music. And you'll notice it, the beginning opening scene, they feature it very prominently. And so to spoiler, but not a spoiler of a plot point, is the very opening song is Bell Bottoms, and he's got the wipers going to the music, and he's drumming on the steering wheel, drumming on the side of the car with the window down, and he's doing that all to the beat of the music. And so that is to make it very prominent right off of the bat. And then the whole opening scene happens. It's like a 5-minute opening thing, and then it goes into like the next scene, and Harlem Shuffle is kind of like the next song that's featured, and he walks to Harlem Shuffle. And not only that, like there's like words written on the walls, like in spray paint or whatever, that fit to the music. So it's like, what is happening right now? Like the first 20 minutes of the movie are basically like everything to the beat, and the words of the songs and the lyrics or whatever are on the walls or on the grounds, and chalk, and just all sorts of little random things that you'll see. But again, like it's less prominent as the movie goes on, but it keeps with that thing. So every music and every song that happens is just like the things that happen in the movie is like to the beat of the music, and it's very unique. So so that is it. So this was maybe like a little bit of a rushed one, and I do apologize. Normally, like I would when I would have these kind of discussions or debates about things, I would maybe have a little bit better notes, but some of these were written like months ago. And and I definitely wanted to get a podcast out. I didn't think I was going to, but it's important that I get something done. And so here we are. Podcast is done, and we're good to go. Should be back on a normal schedule. I do have I think I am traveling one day next week, but I'll just be out like a day, so not a huge deal. So yeah, that is it for me for today's podcast. Again, thank you very much for watching and listening, and we will talk at you all later.